Hello, Scrollgers. My name is Smogan, and I'd like to welcome you all to Heart of Scrolls. This week, the Scrolls community got its first major peek at the upcoming Waypoint set. Our show today will focus on the test server patches from the last few days featuring this set and some new changes to a whole bunch of existing scrolls. There were over 40 scrolls tweaked, which is something like 13 or 15% of the entire scroll population, which is insane. Our guests today are going to detail their thoughts and reactions to some of the most important nerfs and buffs to the existing scrolls, as well as some of the most exciting new Waypoint scrolls. And I think it's going to be a really, really great show today, thanks in large part to an excellent set of guests that we have on. I'm lucky to be joined by three fellow Badgers, as per usual. First up, we have Colorplant. Colorplant had a stream going for hours yesterday to show everybody the new changes on the test server, the new scrolls, playing around against a whole bunch of people. You can catch his Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Colorplant with the English U, so it's COLOUR plant. Welcome to the show, Colorplant.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
And then, of course, we have DaOvalord joining us. You guys know what DaOvalord is excited about with this patch, so we don't even need to give him a chance to talk, right? Just kidding, of course. Glad to have you on the show, DaOvalord. And then finally, we have sysp. As many of you know, sysp has been around since early alpha, and all of that Scrolls experience leads to some terrific insight. So welcome back to the show, sysp.
Always happy to be here.
And thank you to all of our guests for joining us. And I would also like to give a quick shout out to Ice Cream for doing the production of the show and running the technical side of things, uploading it to YouTube and iTunes afterwards, and doing all the editing. That's all him. He does all that work for us. I just really appreciate everything that you do for us, Ice Cream. Heart of Scrolls absolutely could not exist without you doing all that back end stuff. Heart of Scrolls, like I said, is available on YouTube and on iTunes. You can catch it on the YouTube Badger Guild channel and the iTunes Badger Guild channel. And then, of course, it's live on Twitch at twitch.tv/The Badger Guild. Twitch viewers, please feel free to leave your questions and comments in the chat as we move along. All right. That's enough of that. Like most weeks, I'm going to get us started having each guest chat briefly about a deck they've been fooling around with on the test servers using some of the new toys that we've been given. So, Colorplant, I'd like to start with you. What kind of stuff have you been messing around with?
Just about everything, to be honest. I mean, when you get all this, you can't really just focus on one thing. You want to put everything in a deck and just test it all. I've been, of course, yesterday I just tested everything I could because I want to test it all. But today I've sat down and mostly worked around with late game order because I think that looks really cool. Just not because the units look cool, but because the units make late game order better, because it's better late game units.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing DaOvalord can probably make a way better late game deck than me and play it better than me, but I wanted to test it out anyway. And Gravelocks. I think everyone is hyped about Gravelocks. And I'm not sure if I want to go into growth yet for the Gravehawk, even though there's normally a lot more Gravelocks on the board now than there used to be, but
yeah, I feel like there needs to be one more growth scroll that's really exciting to go into growth for to make that work.
Yeah, exactly. But like the replenish on plating helps, just getting out of Gravehawk whenever you want instead of don't even have to sack for growth. So I mean the memorial that goes from energy to growth is useless anyway, so I'm happy about that one. Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
DaOvalord, I'll transition to you next. What have you been messing around with, or what are you hoping to mess around with soon?
Well, of course, first thing I tested was the order unit, and I just put it all in a deck. Had like a deck with 40 creatures. That works
40?
better than... Yeah, that actually works better than I...
Finally.
But that actually works better than I thought. I'm going actually to go a bit serious and try make a serious deck that has maybe not 40 but like 38 creature, because there's so many cards now that can replace some of the spells. So beside that, I've been looking around, of course, on the other ones. Dude, I'm also hyped for Gravelocks. Some of those are cool. And beside that, I've been trying to see how a real proper late game order deck might look and work out.
The return of Imperial resources.
Dude, the introduction of Tempo Theft in mono order.
Interesting.
That's the thing right now.
Okay. All right, sysp, how about you? What have you been messing around with?
Gravelocks.
Everybody loves the Gravelocks.
Yeah, everyone loves the Gravelocks. No, but I've been testing them. It's actually not so much a Gravelock deck, but it is now there is actually a proper non-ranged deck in there, and it turns out that my build is starting to be more of a non-spell one as well because of Snargle. So I'm running a very weird energy deck in the test server at the moment, with made the splash over to order as well for fleetness and wings border to go with those lovely locklinks. So it's pretty weird, but I mean, machinated is the thing as usual and not a spell, and it works as well on a Gravelock Raider as it does on a Canonetta. So I mean, why not?
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to spend most of our show today talking about the cool new scrolls from the Waypoint set. But before we get to those, I want to talk about some of the most exciting and most perhaps divisive changes to existing scrolls that came out of these patches. Like I said, some 40 scrolls were changed, maybe even more than that, which is an extremely high number to change all at once. And keep in mind that these scrolls are certainly not finalized yet. Just in the last 24 hours, we've already seen changes. For example, Ekmeton, I think, has changed about a dozen times in the last 2 weeks alone. So who knows what that'll look like a week from now. But let's start with the major changes to the way the poison system works. Now, rather than wearing off after a pre-designated number of turns, typically 3, it lasts until either the poison is removed or the creature dies. So quite a buff to poison in general, but in exchange, a number of the best poison scrolls have been nerfed. Colorplant, what do you think of this change in general?
I'm not sure, man. Like, I really wonder what made them change this poison, because I haven't seen people complain about, man, I wish my poison would never go off, right? No one has said that ever, because people don't want that. And I wonder what made them go through and decide to change poison and instead nerf all the poison scrolls, which is also something I don't agree with. They buff something and they nerf everything that has to do with that mechanic because that's buffed, and they don't change it. They did change Miasma Well to work maybe better with that kind of poison still, but I don't like it personally. I think poison's gonna be even more annoying now, and like things like Brain Lice is gonna, yeah, that's removal now.
Brain Lice
Lightbearer
is
is also
really
removal.
good.
Yeah, because it's
Wasn't
gonna kill
bad from the
something.
start, so.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, still good. So it's all the poison now is removal. Poison didn't have to kill something for now. Everything is gonna die if it's poisoned. If you don't run purification, or is that Unbind that changed into Unbind, or the Wing Sorceress. So I'm not a
Or
fan.
Refugee or Magic
Yeah.
Armor.
Yeah, anything that magic armor. I'm not a fan personally. Maybe because they hit the Lightbearer so hard in the beginning that I was just, why? It's 5 cost, it's 4 cost now, so that's alright. I've settled peace with the scrolls devs for that one. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the poison change. I don't know why they decided to do it, and if they have a really good reason that can convince me that it's a good change, then I might change my mind, but I haven't heard anything about it yet.
I mean, if they were if they were concerned that it was going to be hard to track when it expired, I mean, they should probably do something about the GUI, because it's not like we don't have any effects that will last a certain amount of turns, and they will probably need to add those in future designs as well, like potion of resistance, etc. So I mean, you still have that, need to have that counters visible somewhere in the GUI. So if it was to make it a little bit more clear, I don't think that they succeeded with that. It's more like they are nerfing some of the accidental counterplay, which was like occasional healing or like temporary health buffs or permanent health buffs even. I mean, everything is just a little bit weirder now with that. There was some interesting counterplay, I think, around the poisoning only lasting 3 turns. So yeah, we seem to stand a little bit puzzled on this one.
Yeah.
I feel with the poison change that it's sort of It's okay sort of balance. Like it's not gonna be a overpowered thing or anything, but I do feel that some in the community severely underestimate this thing. Like having a poison now tick until the units die. Well, sure, you managed to kill a lot of units with your poison before, but now it's like many more doors opens. You just need to get any kind of poisoned, and the unit will sooner or later die. Just have this sort of mindset in mind that Blightbearer now, it's a slow puppet nutrition in a sense, not a nutrition puppet soldier. It's like a slow puppet soldier. He won't wipe the row, but if you can get the 3 guys in a row poisoned, they will die sooner or later.
Yeah. Something I find interesting is that it, in my opinion, it narrows the design space for poison a little bit, because I feel like using that 3 as a baseline, they could raise or lower it and cost scrolls differently. So you could have a cheap spell that only poisoned for 1 or 2 turns, and a more expensive spell that poisoned for 6 or 7 turns and had some other effect. But obviously, that's not going to be the case anymore.
It would be interesting to hear exactly what they thought was so much better with this system, given that even thematically, I mean, it's kind of a cool event when the creature gets poisoned and then manage to survive through it and come out stronger for it. I mean, it's you can see the struggle there. I mean, I kind of liked pretty much everything with 3 turns. I thought it was pretty innovative that they tried to do it across the board. So if they try to simplify things, I mean, I think it just made it less interesting in this case. And as I said, I mean, if it was for tracking purposes, I think that they will limit their design space so much if they don't have those things in the GUI later. I mean, they probably want to have scrolls that are used for a certain number of turns. So.
Yeah, especially obviously in an electronic medium, they can do that and make it easy to track by just putting something on the GUI. But
maybe they felt that thematically in their minds, they felt that poison is not something you have. I'm sort of talking logic here when there's a lot of non-logical stuff in scrolls, but still, that maybe they felt that if you poison something, like if something gets poisoned, why does it stand around for 3 turns, and on the 3rd turn it's like, well, I'm healthy now. Like, why are you healthy? If you
let's wait for the official answer here and not speculate, because I mean, we're gonna get into that poison magic damage discussion.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Let's not go there.
I understand that Mojang cannot, or maybe I don't want to always type a comment to why they make a change on every change, because they often do so many changes and so many stuff. But it's one of those things I sort of wished for sometimes, because what we get is just the aim. We aim to increase the multi-resource decks or whatever, and then we get all the changes. But they don't really give reasoning to why they made whatever they did on a certain change.
Well, we mentioned Blightbearer a little bit. Obviously, this is a key scroll in almost every single Decay deck. It just had so much. It just did so much for 3 costs. It was a really strong offensive and defensive scroll. It went up to 5. Now it's back down to 4. Guys, does it see play at 4 anymore?
I think so, but maybe in more niche decks. But he's still good if you're gonna play poison. That's what I feel.
I think he's still good. I mean, he was great at 3. He was like really good at 3 because he had 3 attack and 4 health, which is like whatever every 4-drop already has, right?
And his ability was added almost like it was a negative, so they gave him better stats.
Yeah, it's kind of negative because it takes damage, but that doesn't really matter. Most of the time it matters, but it's not always a bad thing. And now that his poison is gonna guaranteed kill something because of the new poison mechanic, he's still gonna see play. I think it's not gonna be like an auto include, which he is kind of now, because there's a lot of good force to choose by. When now Stitcher is up to 4 health, which thank God that happened. I've been nagging about that change for a while. So I think, he's he's still good at 4, definitely still good at 4, but there's more things to choose from now than is at 4 that you might want to replace him with. It's my take on it, at least.
So he's fighting with Cursemonger, he's fighting with Stitcher. What else am I forgetting?
It's Hunters.
The Hunters, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is that it's such a safe scroll. I mean, it's very hard to go wrong with that one. I mean, even if they kill it when it's not in the row, it's usually costing them a scroll. And I mean, with the stats 3 to 4, 4, 4, I mean, it's still very much on par. What would you expect? What you would expect?
Yeah.
And all the combos are there. There's some new combos now. Stitcher sees more play as well. So I mean, it's just a very, very good effect to be able to trigger in a row. Almost at will in decay from Necrogeddon or Stitcher or whatever. So I mean, I think it's for certain it's going to see play. He still has the Witch Doctor interaction and all of that, and can hold down a part of the board that you're not frequenting all by himself. I mean, it's one of those comeback scrolls in a sense that it's really hard to deal with since you can't double attack into him and so on. And it still has 3 attack, which means that he needs to be dealt with at some point. Can't just have him attack for 3 like until he dies naturally.
Yeah.
That's
Can't just give him that much value because they'll get the poison anyway when they want it.
Yeah, so I mean, at 5 he was starting to look iffy, I would say. He's in very rare air at that point, but at 4 he's still perfectly fine and will probably go into most decay decks.
Colorplant, I know you've been goofing around with some of the energy stuff, both on live and on test lately. What changes to some energy scrolls have you been most interested in?
Oh, changes to energy scrolls. I almost have to look those up.
Say Ekmaton, and then
Ekmaton.
change.
Always safe to say that one changed.
There's Ekmaton and Power Trip, right? Those are like the major ones.
We had Power Trip, we had Machine
Overdrive.
Priest. Overdrive was a big one.
Potion of Resistance
Machine Priest
as well, yeah.
Yeah, they reverted the
okay.
Potion of Resistance, luckily, so that's...
Yeah,
that was
so they just nerfed Potion of Resistance. Like, they hide it that they nerfed it, because it's still at 2 cost now, right?
Oh,
so the only change that really happened was it went from 1 to 2.
Okay.
They just hide the nerf by doing something else and then just bring it back.
No,
for
it's
some
1
reason.
cost.
No, it's 2 cost on tester,
It's 1 cost.
isn't it? Oh,
It's 1 cost.
iStream will check it for us either way.
Okay, sure.
I am
Yeah,
looking
I
at
probably
it
didn't
right
restart
now.
my
It says
server.
on-
Okay, I believe you.
Confirmed on
Dude.
stream.
I believe you all.
Believe in me.
Yeah, other changes. Power Trip. Cool. You have to be at 8 resources for it to draw a card, so I will see that as a card in Structure Energy, I believe. Maybe in something else that uses Ekmaton that normally goes up to 8, normally, but it's like a 2-off scroll now, I feel like. Because you don't want something that's only good when you're at 8 energy, drawing those in the start, so I like that one. Machine Priest, the change, I like the Machine Priest change, and I don't like it. He's good now. He's definitely better, of course, but it's like he doesn't really have flavor anymore, and he's way too similar to Scout in my opinion, because he has the Scout's ability and another ability. If he had gave him just attack the structures and kept some of his old stuff, for example, I would have liked that change much better, just because of the flavor and how it feels.
I actually strongly agree. I thought his ability, while it wasn't necessarily good, was definitely unique and kind of fun, even if he wasn't in great decks. But they could have added the structure attack on and maybe gotten him to see some play in some niche decks at least.
I always saw it as like a furniture mover a little bit, just moving around the structure where they're supposed to be at. And just, I mean, the old scroll was pretty fun, at least. I mean, it did some unique stuff. It had pretty good stats actually for a 2-cost as well, like a little bit of a poor man's wings forward there for a
or poor man's useless contraption.
4-4-2. But I mean, it definitely was niche, and I think he was only gonna get better in that state with more attack structures getting released. I mean, obviously he's great with attack structures now, the new one, but not being able to attack at 3 is just such a big drawback. I mean, that's
is he
1
free
power
now?
from Scout. Yeah.
Oh.
I thought it was still
happen?
2.
Yeah,
no, it's at 3 now, and that makes all the difference, because I mean, look at what he's competing with in the 3 spot for energy, and I mean, I know that he has some interesting combos now, for instance with Destroyer and so on, but the overall thing is that 1 attack from Scout Automaton, or rather that it can attack at all and get buffed and it's ranged and all of that, is such a huge deal. So I think that he will see actually only moderate to limited play, I would say. I mean, the thing is that it does absolutely nothing on its own, and on a 3 cost scroll, I mean, that's fairly dangerous if you ever end up in a top decking war. So, not a huge fan, I would say.
I'm not a huge fan of the change either, because I think it should have remained sort of how we were, but get some kind of buff. Like maybe you could give him a pump mechanic so you can control the healing.
He got buffed when they changed overdrive, right? I mean, that one was a little bit more impactful already. So
yeah, sort of. But also regarding how they played, he's gonna be now. I think he's gonna be fairly played. Like I think we're gonna see quite a few decks that will have like 3 scout automatons and 2 machine priest in it, or something in that nature. I don't think that will be too uncommon. Just because you will get a shit ton of attack buff on the field. Like if you can get it all on the field, like that is a stretch. But still, if you can get it all on the field, you have your scout automatons on 5 attack. That's always something.
I guess with the ancestral totem seeing play at 4 cost with 2 health, I mean at 3 cost with 4 health,
it could.
And you can move it.
If the automatons are good enough on their own, he could theoretically see play.
And regarding how I feel about Power Trip, I still feel like the best suggestion to it is not have it as it is now. Have it as it was, that you get the card draw on maybe, was it 9 resources before, something like that. Have it like that, but have it that you get the card draw at the end of the turn. Don't have it immediately. And then I think it's fine. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I think you're right about that one. And I mean, I really liked. I would like to have it transfer the energy to the next turn instead, so you kind of can save up for a big play instead.
Because
and still get the scroll draw, because it's just. I mean. As Colorplant says, I mean, it's at best a two scroll, I think. I mean, given that you don't want it in your starting hand usually. I mean, it's the thing is that it's going to be so awkward to play early, because that one scroll that you go behind early is just costing you a ton. So you have to really make up for it because of how the curving works. And if you're playing a deck that wants to go late game, also. I mean, then you want to be able to ramp on turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Even, for instance, when I was doing the structure energy deck, I usually ramped 7 turns straight, and it's very hard to do that with Power Trip. I mean, it has some great companions in like Sudden Eruption and so on, but yeah, it's just. I mean, it's obviously a buff, but it's not a huge buff, and I don't think it will impact how much play the scrolls is too much. I mean, it's still a very niche scroll. It's exactly the same in an early game deck, for instance.
Yeah,
will absolutely never trigger. So,
any other scroll changes out of that list of 40 that you are particularly interested in talking about before we get to the new toys?
Well, about the scroll changes, I don't. There was so many scroll changes. I don't really have it all in mind. But what I will say is that regarding Death Cap Berserker. The change that some people are a bit like, oh, this is now really good. It is better, but the thing about Death Cap Berserker that has always been a bit problematic with it is that it is a more costly fleetness. It's just that you get 2 countdown instead of 1, but there's not many creatures that has more than 2 countdown, so fleetness is enough. You don't need.
You see it as a fleetness. I see it as a speed that stays on the creature, but
yeah, but
it triggers when it comes into play.
Yeah. So yes, you can use it as a speed as well. It's one of the perks.
It's basically not speed and fleetness combined, really.
Yeah.
Because it.
But I'm just saying that I felt that this has been one of the more issue with it, but I can see it work on some stuff, but when it comes to things like using it on a Great Wolf, like sure, that is effective, but I think Grove still prefers things like Rally and Mangy Wolf now. And if they can do a short mention to the Mangy Wolf, the Mangy Wolf change is now cost less, so that's nice.
Yeah.
And if they want something a bit
Segways.
more niche, they often like Earth and Testament. But sure, Deathcap Berserk is a option now, but I don't think it's gonna be that high on the favor list.
And of course, in Energy, there's the Sister Scroll Overdrive, which I'm convinced is going to be really, really good right now. Like you guys were saying, it's like a speed that then has, or I guess I should say like a bombard that then holds on for as a fleetness for several turns.
Sorry.
It already got buffed when they introduced Oculus Cannon.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's definitely an interesting scroll. I mean, it would have been interesting if they kept potion resistance as they put it in as well. I mean,
Yeah.
that was.
I had dreams
Not
of
so
putting
fun when they had
Overdrive
all the
on an
removal
automaton
nerfs, yeah.
forward, getting a guy every turn, then Potion of Resistancing, more guys every
Pretty much
turn.
anything at that point there is just not fun.
Sorry, I think we forgot perhaps to talk. We should at least cover it to some extent. One of the more interesting changes they did to one of the old scrolls, and that is they made to the Sister of the Owl.
Yeah.
They made it a 6 cost again, but now with higher stats. Still, just you get 1 owl, but at least now the owl can move to adjacent tile. It's like, it's not the same sister as the old one. She also don't get a health buff from owl. It's not the same sister as the old, but it's still good. But I feel I'm not good enough with growth to say if this is better or worse than the old sister. What are your opinions on this?
I think it's worse than the old sister because the part of the charm for the old sister was just getting that many guys out, which obviously synergizes so well. But I think it's playable where it's at now. I don't think I would personally use it in the decks that I use. It just doesn't fit my style, but I think it's playable.
The double sister was a big thing also with the health buffs, like turn 6, turn 7 sister, and that's definitely nerfed. I mean, the owl is a little bit better. I mean, I guess in a sense, since they're now slating it as a 2-cost creature, I mean, you're getting a little bit more of it out of it also like that, because it's a slightly better creature now than it was, and you don't get that awkwardness when it spawns in the wrong tile as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a lot of power for 6 cost, is it?
I don't think it's enough better than Great Wolf, for example.
At
No,
least
it's definitely worse.
At least they made the Witch Doctor have 4 attack now.
Yeah.
That I'm okay with. Honestly, if you ask me, Witch Doctor would actually be balanced on 3 attack. But let's take small step at a time here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, lots of scrolls were changed. Like we said, make sure you check out the changelog for the entire list. We only touched the surface. There's quite a few more. We could do an entire show just on these changes. But, of course, we've got some really exciting new scrolls to talk about from the Waypoint set. So we're going to kind of dive into these. Again, we're not going to be able to hit on all of them. I think there were 20 released. We're just going to pick a few that we're most excited about and spend the next half hour or so breaking them down. DaOvalord, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this to you. We all want to hear it. New Knights, new late game order. What do you think, man? Go.
I'm actually just gonna talk about one of them because the other ones are nice, but they don't necessarily pique my interest enough to have a long discussion. And that is the Orbalister, or however you pronounce his name. That big guy. I can say first of all, when I saw those knights, I had a bloody fan gasp because they look so goddamn awesome, both as model and the artwork. I'm like, oh my god, I want to play them. Even if they suck, they don't suck. But even if they sucked, I would play them because they look so goddamn awesome. Anyway, the Orbalister, he really shocked me because he's a piercing and a ranged. For order, okay.
Had
And
some
he's
ranged, but piercing is new.
And he is also a sort of harvester. So like, order got a harvester piercing range unit. Okay, he he's very much the comeback scroll that that late game order needed. Partisan were not. Partisan is not doing the work. I've tried, but what you can do with him, which is really effective, is using tempo theft. If you use tempo theft on something that has one countdown, he will then trigger himself to get a 0 countdown after the transfer. Although some of the developer has stated that they may want to change that so it is triggered before. And in that case, it'd be more tricky. You have to use it on something like Wingswarder that has 0 countdown, or maybe have a follow-up with a focus. That's still doable, but it is more tricky to do.
Yeah.
But it's still this comeback. There's so many situations as a late game mode player where you're just trying to rely on flip and stuff to kill whatever is threatening. Now you can put this guy out, you can trigger him, and then you can like kill that storm runner or whatever that is threatening in some kind of tile, and you're just killing stuff. He is really good for getting yourself back.
Did you notice the ninja buff he got right away?
No.
No, what?
Roasted beam potion counts him down twice now since it's a spell.
Ah, yes.
And we can move twice. Expect that to be with the focus to be a thing. Yeah, that's kind of.
Well, I didn't
double
really.
SDR and the next turn roasted beam potion, double focus.
Well, I have used that several times, but I didn't really think that much about it as a buff to him, but it is a buff. Okay.
I mean, but isn't the roasted beam potion in general with resonance? I mean, it's a little bit buffed now. I mean, the movement was.
It's one guy
nice,
for resonance.
But
he's a important guy, but still, it's one guy for resonance.
I mean, if there's more resonance in the set.
Well, okay, sure. Yes, then it's a buff for the deck overall if you use those resonance guys.
It's a nerf to the interaction with Snargle. I just can put that in there. That's not as good. It would have been better as an enchantment.
So I'm just saying, if late game is gonna really come back with the full might, I think it's not gonna be because of that Night Sword and such. It's gonna be because of this guy, because he really provides comeback power, something that has been really struggling to make work. So you have so far just been trying to maintain board control and never lose it. Now you can retake it. And that is major. So
Yeah, I definitely think late game order is back up on its feet. I'm very excited to see how that goes. Fun deck to play. I don't mind playing against it. Some people disagree, but I think it's a lot of fun. But somebody mentioned, oh geez, I can't even pronounce it. Snargle? Help me.
Snargle, yeah.
Yeah.
Snargle.
What do you guys think about this monster?
I think
I like it. I like it.
I think it's a wing charger with one less cost, but it has a drawback. If you can play around that drawback, it's good. Because I still state that wing charger is fine, but there's better options. He's even better, but he's not better if you cannot play around the drawback. But apparently sysp is sort of making it work.
Hey, it costs 4 energy, so it's all automatically good, right?
The deck I'm running on test now is really, I mean, the thing is that he wears like machinated mindset really well, and now there's a ton of things that does that, so you can use 3 of them in the deck for sure. And I mean, machinated is also a thing. With machinated mindset, it's a little bit similar to the piercing projectile machinated combo that I've been using to get up to top 10 again now with on the live. So it's I mean, there's just a ton of things now when you can play machinated mindset that really likes it, like Ironclad Reaver, for instance, or Solemn Giant and all of that. So I think Snargle fits right in there. It gets a little bit weird, that deck. I mean, you don't want too many spells, and I mean, as an energy player, you usually are in the first deck, I was like, oh, I'm gonna test the new stuff, and I put in Power Trip and Snargle in the same deck. Don't do that.
No, no.
It's not a combo.
No.
It's like, well, am I ever gonna play this one?
Obviously, you need to play a 50 creature deck. No spells at all.
Yeah, and I've already done it like maybe 5-6 times, those facepalm moments where you're like, oh, I'm gonna Iron Whip this dude, and oh, no.
Yeah.
And, and then he's gonna burn his, no, okay. So I mean, he definitely has a drawback, but I think that the in general, stats are like king in this game. I mean, a 5/4 for 4. If you can just have 2 normal turns where you drop more creatures, I mean, it's just fantastic value on that. I mean, it can kill anything at that point. I mean, pretty much anything that's on par with that. And if you go first, you're just putting so much pressure on the board. It's not easily removed because they nerfed all of the removal. So I mean, it's just a very intimidating scroll when it's dropped on curve.
And sometimes it's good to delay your attack by a turn. I used to do that with Tool Initiate, buff a structure that didn't need it just because it was more beneficial to attack next turn instead of this turn. So that could be good too.
Yeah, definitely.
But what is competing in that 4 energy creature slot with this now? What do you guys think might compete with it?
Lockling.
Huh, interesting.
I actually I like to talk about that Lockling because I actually feel a Lockling is way too weak. It's just because, sure, it has good stats, but at the same time, you can kill it with any spell or enchantments, and maybe someone would say, well, why would you, isn't it a bad trade to use like your Blessing of Haste to kill it or something like that? Well, no. If anyone who pretty much use these spells or enchantments, they often use it because they want to kill something. And there's so many spells and enchantments that it gives good value from it. Like a Spark now deals 4 damage on him per se, and and of course we have Kabong and we have like a Bloody Focus. Instead, Focus dealing 3 damage, it deals 4 damage, and the Burn. And then do the Burn draw a card? I think so. No. Okay, well that's kind of strange. Anyway,
I'm not sure that
it should do. Brainwise draws a card.
Kabong should do it. Burn doesn't.
And then we have like Brain Lice Brain Lice will kill anyway, but now it kills instantly. So it's just, there's so many that you do a good trade using it on him that I actually don't. I think the drawback is too heavy on him. The first thought I had was maybe he should be free drop, but there's so many free drops. We don't need another free drop of energy. And then I thought like maybe make it only work with spells, but then it's like that's really hard and for like growth. They don't have many direct spells to use it in Om, so he's gonna wreck growth. So I'm not sure how you would change him.
Isn't that fine though? I mean, given how many totally countdown creatures they have, isn't it fine that there's one on the other side?
Wait, what?
That he's particularly good against
growth.
Growth
Now, what is it, like 18?
Yeah, you
one
can fill an entire
one
deck
creatures or something like that. So
Owls,
is it defined there's a 3 in the other deck that's gonna interact with those?
I'm not sure we're talking same thing here because you have a very weird response. I'm questioning how we would buff the Lockling.
Oh, I think he's saying that it maybe doesn't need a buff. It's really good against Growth. And maybe that's okay because Growth has so many 1 countdown creatures, so it's nice to have one of the other factions have one to fight back.
Your proposed change about only being triggered on spells it might be a good one. It is very fragile.
Okay, now I'm on track with your thinking.
Yeah, I think that it's actually a pretty good suggestion to not have it trigger on enchantment and see how strong it is. I mean, I'm running
Oakblood on it once. You're going to change your mind.
Yeah, I mean it's a big stretch. You can't really do much other than that to not have it affected by stuff. So, yeah, I mean it's an interesting, but it's good with Fury.
Yeah,
give it that much.
I think it's really, really cool build around me scroll. It's not going to be good in every deck, but if you're willing to adjust your deck to make it fit, obviously it's got some serious potential.
But I just feel that it only what comes to my mind. There's only one thing that really helps this card, and that is if you splash in a Wingswarder. Wingswarder, well, there died Colorplant. Anyway, Wingswarder, that will really help Lockling to work. But that's like the only one. You can't do Untainted or whatever because he will die from the Untainted. So there's nothing else that can protect Lockling, and he's exposed to anything that the opponent can do to just kill him for cheap. So
Wow.
I'm just. Oh dear God, that noise.
Yeah, apologize. Brief
Okay,
technical-
I'm back.
Oh, we're good.
Sorry
Welcome back.
about that one.
Yeah,
Don't
you're
picnic,
back.
guys.
So anyway, so I'm just saying that I actually think Lockling is tweak. I think it needs some kind of change to not be that easily removed. Maybe they should make it some kind of that the Lockling take 3 damage when you use something on it. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's an option.
could be a thing. I mean, Colorplant, do you think that we could do, if we want to continue going forward with this aggro energy build, do we want Snargle or Lockling in the deck?
I'm not sure, man. Everyone's gonna hate me for this, but I don't like Snargle. I feel like the only person that
What?
doesn't like Snargle because I like using spells. Okay, and I think his downside is too much of a downside, to be honest.
Not
And, like,
not if you go.
The biggest reason I don't like him is because he has 5 attack, which is perfect for corrode. But if you use corrode, it's gonna just not attack, right? Because it's a spell. So
But what I like is that they are doing what we talked about. They are picking up on our ideas. I mean, we talked about this when we talked about the aggro decks way back when on the pod, before aggro decks were too much of a thing. And then we talked about and what kind of scrolls can they print to make aggro decks a little bit better. And scrolls with drawbacks was definitely one thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, Snargle now, Lockling, you probably see more. So they seems to be going a little bit in that direction that they, and I mean, oftentimes that kind of power, a little bit also with Blightbearer and so on. I mean, often the power of a lot of scrolls lies when they have a big upside and a downside you can play around. So, and to get full potential out of the scroll rather than like a safe, normal, vanilla scroll, for instance. So it's always tempting when you see those scrolls as a deck builder, I think, to try to break them.
yeah, like in aggro energy, I would definitely put Snargle in because then in the early game you want to spam out units anyway and don't use them too many spells. So like getting a turn for Snargle in aggro energy would be like the perfect draw. So, but in any deck that goes up to 6 or is like mid game, late game oriented, I would not really have Snargle in. That's at least my opinion. I think the drawback is a little bit much. Like, it's not too much. I'm not saying the unit is bad and should be buffed. I just don't prefer it myself.
Yeah.
Well, let's
And
think
also,
of. Go ahead.
moment of silence for corrode guys, which also got nerfed. for some reason.
Yeah.
Sorry for language.
So does that last
Why?
another through the end of your opponent's turn
I think
now?
they intended it as a buff a little bit because I mean it obviously triggers if the opponent. I mean if
draw a card if the
idol
opponent
goes down
kills.
on the opponent's turn as
Yeah.
well. But it
But
was a
the-
very narrow scroll
Jesus.
before, and now it's even more narrow. So yeah, I don't know what they were.
Yeah.
I just feel that I feel that is a major nerf, and I feel that is like one of the weirdest nerf ever. It's like, why nerf this scroll? It's like
Yes,
nerfing.
I'm gonna have a talk with someone about that one. I'm not.
I mean, I
I'm
finally
like,
broke into top 10 with it, and now it's like next patch is like, no, now we're nerfing it. Sorry.
I'm wondering
like
if this is
seriously,
their.
no,
Man.
it's like seriously, no one is really playing this beside Colorplant. Okay, there is others, of course. We have. I
Like
probably
2
see-
others in the game.
Now,
To
my
be
thought.
serious, I've seen at least 8. But
My thought is that it's maybe a flavor change in the vein of Fury and Bombard, where energy gets really good scrolls that affect both you and your opponent. Maybe they want a corrode to be the same way, so there's a flavor change, and they just didn't. They thought that was more important than the raw power of the spell.
if they can do that to machinate it, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
Give that to my unit on the same on the same row mirrored, so to speak.
Then it's just going to die anyway, but yeah.
I don't know what the flavor of machinated is. It's like tag, you're now Robocop, go kill something, and then I don't know. It's
I wish Machinated locked your guy in place so he couldn't move, so he's like a pseudo structure.
yeah,
Ooh, flavor.
Yeah.
that would be interesting.
Terrific
Anyway.
flavor.
I'm getting too excited about the energy stuff because that's one of my favorite factions, but I want to make sure we spend time chatting about some of the growth things, and not just the Nogs, but definitely the Nogs.
And we
Let's
can
not
skip
have
60K.
yesterday. Like the last 2 hours of my stream yesterday were just Nog jokes on the
Nog
chat.
jokes over
There
and
was
over.
nothing else. Every single word had a Nog in it, or like every sentence had something to do with a Nog. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we can chat about them briefly before we move on to Decay, because Decay got at least one super cool scroll that I'm excited about, and probably a few more. But yeah, I think Nognest is really, really good, actually. I think it competes for the Sister of Fox spot in a late game deck. I'm actually quite impressed with it in my early play testing. Have you guys had a chance to mess around with it?
I haven't tested around, but I think
I like Nognest.
yeah,
I
I
do.
think it's solid.
Yeah, it's a
Definitely.
little bit risk reward, because if you can't kill it before it goes off, then you just pay a 2 for a useless contraption, right? But if it goes off, you get 2 freeze, which is the same to like a forecast. And if you have Budding Vader out, it's also 2 resources, so it has a lot of synergy with a lot of the new stuff. Same with the Earth Keeper, the whatever Earthborn Keeper, the new one that gets attack when something spawns, right? Also synergize with that one. So there's a lot of things that synergize with units coming into play with growth now,
Yeah.
and getting 2 units for 1 scroll is good always. So I like it.
The risk is very little, I think, with a 4
Yeah.
health 4 health structure on the curve on 2. I mean, yeah, that's not the most risky proposition, I think, in the game.
Yeah, it's not. It's a little bit risky. Like Lockling Brood is pretty risk reward, because you can either get very little value out of it if someone brainlizes it, or a lot of value if they don't have a spell or enchantment to kill it.
I think a Nognest will almost always trade up. I mean, at least in resources. I mean, 4 health is a lot, especially that early in the game. So I mean, even late, I mean, you can fairly easily trigger it with a rallying or a god hand. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
also rally
it's definitely
works
very solid. Yeah.
I think that's an understated point, that Rallying and God Hand trigger not only Nognest, but also Skythorn. So if you're drawing a card off your God Hand now, in addition to everything else, that's pretty potent.
And Vitality Well. Don't forget
Yeah,
Vitality
that's
Well.
true.
Put it in.
That's true. I do forget Vitality Well.
Vitality Well, the only structure with a haste.
Yes.
Yeah,
that is true.
It's the structure.
Samata,
Yeah.
I was going to
what's
say, Samata Sift is really interesting as far as a build around me perspective, too. I don't think it's good in just a random growth deck. You don't want to just throw it in and then draw ragged wolves off of it. But for those of you that like to mess around with fat creatures and getting them out cheaply or in ways that you shouldn't be allowed to, definitely some building potential here.
I think
Given
we're gonna
that you're-
see it. I think we're gonna see it in draw decks.
Yes,
where it's
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, getting Oblivion Seekers and so on is obviously powerful. The interesting thing also is that since you touched on it, Smogan, and we haven't talked about magic at all this podcast.
We need to.
Isn't this the Reanimator
Yes,
deck of scrolls
absolutely.
coming up here?
Absolutely. Or what's the blue instant that each player gets to put a creature into play? Show and tell?
Show and tell, yeah.
Yeah. Definite combo potential here. Maybe not the powerful late game creatures yet that are going to break this in half. But I imagine 4 or 5 sets from now, we're going to look back at some Oddish Sift and go, wait a minute, that's a little much.
I think that the interesting thing is also that it obviously isn't the last thing that you can do on your turn at that point. So I mean, you could throw Untainted on it. Is it?
Yeah.
The one that only gives ward. I mean, for 2.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, given that if you're getting a good enough creature at that point, and there's definitely other ways of playing creatures without playing creatures, if you know what I mean. Nognest, Rattling. Rat King and so on. So
Naive Eagle.
structures, yeah, Naive Eagle. So it's definitely interesting, and it's also interesting that the creature doesn't necessarily need to be growth,
Yeah.
which opens up a whole ton of. I mean, it's at the very least, it's a very fun scroll. It's probably not game breaking, but it's a pretty interesting new approach to the thing compared to like. I mean, just compare this scroll to Royal Inspiration, which draws a knight for draws, not
A little
plays.
bit better than that one.
Draws a knight for 4. Just think about that one for a while.
Yeah.
It should, a Royal Inspiration should either be 1 to 2 cost or drawing 2 knights. That's my just feel about
Yeah,
it.
I think it needs to be something like that, for sure.
Just be anything else than what it is now.
I can't figure out anything I would want to, like even if I had a bloody witch doctor it drew, I'm not sure I would use a 4 cost draw that witch doctor.
I mean, I don't often time walk myself, but I mean, or time walk the opponent. But when I do, I want more out of it than a
Yeah.
knight. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
In hand, no less.
Hey, drawing a Night
So-
Scholar, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Like Waking Stone is really effective, but even there, I don't necessarily always use summoning to just draw a bunch of Waking Stones. I often am fine with just 3.
And I thank you for not doing that, because I hate playing against decks that use 6 Waking Stones and 6 Warding Stones.
Well,
And Imperial
That's
Field.
And Imperial
So-
Resource to heal them.
Oh.
all right. So, did we start on the decay, any of the decay cards? I felt you were jumping a bit around there. I got that.
Yeah, I actually think this is a good chance to, with the time we have left, to chat about some of these decay scrolls. And Colorplant, on your stream yesterday, I was watching you play a super fun, super synergistic Revenant Anima Conduit decay deck. Will you just talk about that for a little bit and describe what you were doing?
Yes. Not that I really knew what I was doing, but I think I just added in about just about everything. And I like the scrolls I like are the Flash I can't say Flash Animator. It sounds weird in my head because I think I'm gonna say Flash Animator because that's the normal word. So I'll also just call him Flash Animator. But yeah, he is good. The new Anima Conduit, I like it. I really like how it's designed. I like the scroll, but I think it should be a little bit better. It should either have like 4 health or be a free cost, because anything with 3 health at 4 that also takes damage from itself is bad. But since it spawns undeads now, which is just more synergy all over the place with everything, and just spawns haste creatures just about, no, I like it. It's also extremely annoying for the opponent. It's like charge coil level of annoying. You kill something, someone else drops up and is gonna kill you because you killed it. Because it has haste, right? With the 1 countdown, because it spawns on your on their turn. So
Yeah.
when it comes to your turn, it's gonna attack, right? So I don't think having an undead deck with like only undeads like Blade Husks and Myra Shamblers. Myra Shamblers are good, but like running Husks and Blade Husks and all that just because of the undead synergy isn't quite there yet. But you can definitely go more into undeads and have it like as a sub theme in your decks now. Because I don't think going full into it is the right way to do it, because there's not enough good standalone undead units. Like Blade Husk is not really great still. Husk is not good. Myra Shambler is kind of good. It's fragile, but it's a good unit. And other than that, we just have Harvester, don't we? For
Yeah.
undeads.
I mean, do you think
Yeah.
Harvester is good
Saying-
enough to be included in the deck, or?
Yeah.
Trolling.
Yeah.
It's obviously. I mean, given that
Mm.
it gets Revenants exploding all over the place. I mean, it seems like a perfect fit, and I definitely agree. But I think that the undead that were unplayable before, like Husks and Blade Husks, aren't necessarily gonna be all of a sudden pop into I mean, even if there's a ton of synergy, the scrolls need to be pretty good by themselves to be included. I mean, it's just that you end up in this situation a lot of the times where you're top decking, or you need to just play stuff and you don't have a time to assemble the board. I mean, face it. I mean, if you get 5-6 creatures on the board, I mean, even if they don't have any synergy, you're usually in a pretty good spot. So it's important that the individual scrolls are good enough, and obviously a lot of the undead stuff is iffy at best. I mean, you have that severely undercosted Restless Bone there, sitting in the background, just waiting for its moment to be used. I mean, here's a god.
Cantor put it to use a couple
here's a god
months ago.
for 3. I mean, it's a little bit scary.
Colorplant yesterday on his stream played 3 Restless Bones on the same turn.
Yeah, I got it. I top deck a Revenant the same turn. So Revenant, 3 Restless Bones, killed an 8 health idol, and had a Harvester doing stuff. But yeah, also Shroud of Unlife now makes the subtype undead also thing. So
that is interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I've seen that all over Reddit, and like people have been suggesting that for a long time, making Shroud of Unlife give the undead subtype. I don't know about that one still. I don't think, because that's still bad in my opinion. Still, if there comes more good undead stuff, and you can have a lot of good undead stuff and the Shroud of Unlife on board, and a couple of flash animators to make them count down, then still good. But like, there's not enough synergy. There's more, but there's not enough to make all the undead standalones good yet. And Shroud of Unlife is still a bad spell.
But at least now it's a cool bad spell.
It's a cool bad spell,
which I'm okay with.
I'm what I will
cool,
say
bad.
about Decay. It's always a bit difficult for me to sort of give judgment on Decay, because what they get is always so weird. But 2 cards I feel will probably work a bit different than some might expect. Is that the Anima Conduit? I think people are going to see combos from it and stuff, or interaction from it that they might not have thought of themselves. Like, it will not surprise me if someone build a deck and use Monstrous Brood to trigger that thing. So you get a bunch of monstrosity as well as 3 Revenants. And then I think Revenant, it's sort of weak in the early. Where it really shines, I believe, is when you start to go more into the late game, because then it has more synergy with the what is it called? With the Restless Bones and with the Dominion Nuru. So it gets more attack and such. So I actually think it's gonna be one of those 1-drop thing you do in the late game, a bit like how I play Order, and I use the Aging Knight in late game to just trigger alongside the Vanguard to get that extra damage for that turn and so on. I think it's gonna be a bit played more around that, and just be a thing you sometimes use in the more early parts.
It would be interesting to know exactly who in the Mojang crew had that Anima Conduit deck built that crushed everything in the office, that they had to introduce nerfs eventually to it. Like, they changed the costs probably. They probably added.
I didn't hear that story. That's interesting.
But I think you can tell a little bit from the design that they probably didn't start off at this point. It's like, okay, obviously if we want to do this scroll, this is exactly how it should look like. I mean, I think it seems like there's something that's been nerfed over time.
So maybe it started off as like Copper Automaton style revenants that were really good.
Probably started as something fairly strong, and this is the one that they choose to give us. So
I don't think so. I think maybe the thought process was more along the lines of a Rat King cost 4 and gives 3 beast rats, and this thing costs 4 and give 3 revenants essentially, potentially more, and revenants are in a way better than the beast rats. So it's probably more along those line of thinking.
Yeah, but do you think they really started with Ward on the Revenants and all of that? There's just so much design going on. It seems that it's been added on in layers.
So this is
Well-
version D, maybe?
I would be totally surprised if this was the first version that he did,
Probably not the first.
and
version,
have it
but,
hold up in testing. I mean, given how many
Yeah.
movable parts there is on the scrolls,
Like, of course, it's
more
not
than
the
count on
first
one
version.
and damage and cost, and yeah, it's just a lot of stuff in
Like, I think Mojang is just. I have no idea what how Mojang works, but I think like how many people work when you design something. You just come with a bunch of ideas, test them around, and then you sort of decide on one and polish it a little bit, and then release it. Like when we saw the preview of the early idea for Snargle, he had the whole current energy for more health thing that is totally removed now. I think it's just a bunch of ideas, and they're testing a bunch of ideas, and then they stick to something that kind of feels right.
I'm pretty sure that Nog was almost unchanged from its original concept. I mean, it just goes to show that I think it's some of the scrolls that they can use their formula on right off, and I don't think you can apply their balancing formula right off to Animacon. That it needs to be tested, obviously, to know if it's in the right place or not.
But Nog is a vanilla card, and I think it's
some
it's
hard
not
names
that,
in this set.
I don't think there's that much changing going on when it comes to vanilla cards. You just follow the stat and cost rules, so to speak, when it comes to that.
Yeah. And then I add 2 if it's a decay creature. Like with Harvester.
And make sure that no, not gonna go.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we are going to have to wrap up there. But there's so much more we could talk about with this set. We didn't even get to Slithering Form. We didn't talk much about Earthborn Keep or even Budding Vader, which has some serious potential.
Oh yeah.
So many cool scrolls, and we've only seen a third of this new set, guys. In my opinion, like the last set came out with so many cool things, and scrolls finally got over that hump where we had enough just different scrolls and different builds that we could mess around with, that there was just so much variety. And then of course Wild, and now this. I'm really excited for the future. I am in the mood to build 1,000,000 decks. My test server deck list is already way too huge, and it's just going to double and triple with this new set. But anyway, thank you everybody for my guests for joining us. Thank you to all of you that joined us on Twitch. And of course, those of you catching us after the fact on the YouTube channel and on iTunes. I'm going to give a quick shout out to the Brag and Brawl is coming up soon. So if you are interested, get your guild together, sign up. We want to get as many guilds as possible into this. You can find the contact information for the Brag and Brawl on Scrolls Guide and the subreddit. And also keep an eye out for the new double deck tournaments that are spawning up right now. I don't think there's one planned at the moment, but there have been 2 in the last few weeks, and I think there will be more in the future. They've been extremely successful and really, really fun to watch. So keep an eye out for those. Other than that, that's all I have for everybody. So get out there and go play some scrolls. Make sure you test the new set on Monday on the test server. Take care, everyone.
Goodbye. See you on the